Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Scars and Spikes, normally a match review podcast. Sydney and Henry with you. I say normally because right off the bat, Henry, we have some breaking news to talk about that happened just before we started the show. We'll have Tommy in here shortly, maybe Tyler in just a little bit. They're running a little late, but Henry, the big news that has come out in just hours before we started the show here. Efrain Morales, the latest Atlanta United homegrown center back, headed to CF Montreal. Wow. Speechless.
You know what?
What?
It just... I don't understand. I don't understand, like, how is it physically possible that this club has managed to make things worse on a day when they weren't even playing, right? I mean, coming off of that game,
yeah,
we were talking about it on Three Takeaways. It was like, this club needs change. We need change to happen. We didn't mean this kind of change. Okay, that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about increasing the X-Dog, not right. Selling it or trading it to freaking Montreal again.
Yeah.
And Efrain, right?
Yeah.
A player who was starting to break out with the first team, was getting tons of opportunities. I think it was his 4th or 5th consecutive start with the first team.
Right.
He'd played the whole 90 for every game except for this last one against Charlotte, where he got taken off, and we were told it was, he said he couldn't keep running, he said he couldn't keep sprinting, he just couldn't continue. I guess that's because he wasn't on the team anymore, was he? It's just, I don't understand, man. This club, it gets youngsters, it develops them to the point where they're like close to breaking out, to where they're close to hitting their potential. And then right before that moment, it trades them away. It sells them away.
Yeah, and I'll kind of give my thoughts here in a little bit, but I know Tommy's waiting in the wing, so I'm going to get Tommy's thoughts right off the bat. Tommy, Efrain Morales, CF Montreal, initial thoughts when you heard the news.
Can never get comfortable liking one of the kids.
No, you're not.
What's that?
No, I thought you were muted. Your mic was muted for a second, but now it's not. You're good.
Oh, you can never get comfortable with starting to like one of the kids getting called up. It's very rare that they stay. I mean, we were just talking about what happened to Cobb. Like, where's Cobb been? Here, I guess Efrain Morales has passed him on the passed on the depth chart there. Depth chart. And now, well, Cobb would be back up if he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it just here's I'm trying to rationalize it, guys, and this is my theory. So you have Mihai coming in, right? Mihai presumably is going to be your starting center back. Gregerson, whenever he comes back, if he comes back, it's going to be your other starting center back. You have Cobb, you have Williams, who maybe I don't think he's coming back next year. You have, that's the only way I'm rationalizing at this point, is that there's always going to be an odd man out, an odd player out for Atlanta United, and it seems like Efrain was it. And on his face, it looks puzzling because like you guys said, he had been performing well over these past few weeks. But it's just the timing is interesting, and Chris Henderson is going to meet the media. He's going to discuss Atlanta United's kind of strategy for the summer transfer window. So we'll try to get a sense of why this move happened. I saw Tommy, you're kind of rolling your eyes at that, but yeah, I'd love to hear why this happened, why Atlanta United has decided to trade Efrain Morales to CF Montreal, what the nuts and bolts are behind that.
Are we talking about the Fantastic Four now, or is because that's the Bruno says
Honestly, it might be more entertaining than this damn club.
Probably leave that for
I'm
the
for it,
Patreon.
I'm just so frustrated with this team right now.
You and
I saw
Tommy,
the tweet from Rob
you're both
Ustry that said
speechless.
that on the pregame that Chris Henderson talked about addressing the chemistry of the team. And we've been talking about leadership and fighting for the badge, and that the kids are the ones that are doing it. And then you get rid of that one after a flawless first half, and that was probably the most flawless first half that you had in a long time, maybe all season. It looked fantastic. And then he gets taken out and everything just goes to complete shit in that second half for the last 45 minutes. And now it's just beyond frustrating here. You didn't get the win, and you lost a player that was becoming a fan favorite.
Right.
And a player that over the past few games has been putting out fires for you at the back. He's been, very energetic, very confident, going into tackles, just really doing the things that you want a center back to do, as far as being strong, being good in aerial duels, being committed in his tackles. He was fast, but also in possession. I feel like he was the ideal center back for what Ronnie Dyla's trying to do, which is a guy who will, bring the ball forward, isn't afraid to face pressure, and can play out of that pressure. And we saw that doing a couple times in this last game against Charlotte. Is just getting forward and finding, Miggy on the right side, really kind of helping push the play a little bit and push Charlotte back into their own half. So that was great. And also, he's not afraid to kind of show people kind of the business a bit.
Yeah.
Last night against Wilfred Zaha, he just totally trucked them on one play, which I absolutely loved that part of the game. And little did we know it was going to be one of his last plays in an Atlanta United shirt. So I'm pretty bummed about it. And Gray, who is our resident twos expert, Academy twos development player kind of expert, he was obviously very upset when he heard the news, and I don't blame him. It seems like this club is increasingly showing that it doesn't really care as much about making its homegrown players and its academy kids part of the main first team project. It seems like they're more of just, what do you call it, assets to be grown and then sold at the right time. Almost, like you're fattening up livestock for slaughter.
Yeah, which, I mean, I talked about it, a few weeks ago. These are players that you could build around. Efra is a player you can build around. Noah Cobb's a player you could build around. Jaden Hibbert, who could be your number one keeper next year, is a player you could build around. Certainly, Jay Fortin is a player you can build around. Hopefully, Luke Brennan, who had a strong game against Charlotte, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is a player you can build around. Atlanta has, since, I will say, maybe Caleb Wiley, hasn't had a player that has been given consistent minutes, consistent time from start to finish in the season to prove his worth. And I just don't. Henry, you're absolutely right. It looks more like tradable assets more than players that can really build a future with his team. It kind of runs counter what Ronnie Dylan said, right? He wants to build players, or he wants players that the team can, lean on, especially local players that what he calls them. Certainly your Brennans, your Cobbs, Moraleses, Fortunes, etc. Players like that. Jonathan Ransom is coming up through the academy, potential future keeper for Atlanta United. Another name that comes to mind. they have to really look at this strategy and say, this is not conducive to what needs to happen if we want to be successful in MLS. Because I understand maybe Montreal, given the offer they couldn't refuse, if that's the case, maybe I understand it a little bit more. But just for now, it's just tough to understand. And again, we'll hear from Chris Henderson later in the week as to why this happened, and we'll learn essentially, or we'll learn eventually what this offer was, how much Eleni and I are getting back. I hope it's pretty substantial, because why would you trade away Morales instead of keeping him here and potentially letting him blossom to one of the top defender for your club?
Now, I am going to say this, even though I disagree with this decision to trade Morales.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here for a sec. And if we're talking about, I guess, tearing down this team a little bit and kind of rebuilding, restarting, looking for ways to open spots on the roster and open space for new signings. Efrain Morales is probably one of the few truly tradable assets that you had this window. I was saying it in Discord. I'm assuming here. I think if Jay Fortune had not been injured, he probably would have also been one of those trade assets this window. He has value. He's young. He hasn't hit his prime yet. Same story with Efrain Morales. Now, in a practical sense, you signed Ania Mihai, right? He is a right-sided center back. So if he starts playing, you aren't going to pair him with Efrain Morales because they're both right-sided center backs. And they have different roles. Left-sided center backs and right-sided center backs have different roles. And so it's not as easy as simply, oh, well, it's just a center back, right? Like in FIFA. That doesn't work. So if you look at the roster, with Efrain Morales, this team would have had, I count, like 4 right-sided center backs between Mihai, Gregerson, Morales, and Cobb. So in a sense, it makes sense that they would trade one of them when you're bringing one in. It just sucks that it has to be Efrain Morales, a guy who we've literally just seen start to blossom with his time in the first team. And so I get the sentiment, and I really share it, especially because the situation that we are in. But on one hand, on the more kind of coldly like financial and tactical side, I guess I can kind of see where they're going with this.
Tommy, what's on your mind?
Just frustration in general here. I mean, you've seen social media. I was on Spaces last night for well over an hour, just talking to fans that are frustrated. And then obviously this was before we even knew that this move was happening.
Yeah.
But looking at where that game was, it's just been you're slowly turning people. Like a couple of weeks ago, we went back and forth about, is the season over? And that's how I personally felt then. But then you have another game that happens, and yeah, it was a draw, but that's not the 3 points that you need. So then you start losing more people, and then the loss, the embarrassing loss, because I don't think that was just a loss yesterday. I think it was an embarrassing loss, considering how you started and then what you put on the field in the second half. So then you lose more people, and then you start seeing someone that, I'm waiting for someone to actually like put online that they bought a Morales jersey yesterday after the performance, and because that always happens, that always ends up happening eventually there. But and now you're losing a player that you have become invested in over time. Like, you've been hearing about him coming up, and then you've seen some performances. You're like, okay, maybe with the team that's potentially going to be out of the playoffs here, potentially mathematically out, then you would be able to see him play a little bit more.
Yeah.
And now that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's just you're losing fans. And like, I've seen multiple people post online, like, are you keeping your season tickets next year? Like, we're at that point of the year. We were at that point last season. And that's before even knowing if the ticket prices are going to increase, because that's the other question that fans are waiting for here. that hasn't come out yet. Are ticket prices going to increase this season? That was a huge talking point last summer. I was there. I was at that game when
Yeah.
when the fans were protesting it.
Yeah.
So right now it's and I tweeted this last night or this morning. Like you went into this time last year and you had hope because you just got rid of Gonzalo Pineda. So you knew that you were very likely going to bring a new coach in because you didn't really know what Rob Valentino was going to do. You thought he was just a placeholder for the new guy to come in. And then you had 3 DP spots that we were eventually going to have open.
Right.
And now you don't have as much flexibility. Now you are going to have flexibility in your roster spots next season. They're not some of the bigger roster players here, but around the DP players, absolutely, you are going to have some different positions that are going to open up. Starting goalkeeper is very likely going to be one. Your left and right backs, who knows what's going to happen there? Your midfield, you've got a lot of questions going into it, but your big name players, the ones where you're throwing cash around nonstop, it seems unlikely that you're gonna move on from Latte Loth. It seems very, very unlikely that you're going to move on from Miguel Almiron. And then your third player here with Alexei Marinchuk, nobody really knows how the front office feels about him now. We know how the fans feel. We know how MLS broadcasters feel about him, but we don't know how the front office feels about him. So seeing a significant move in the next, 6 months doesn't seem very likely. And that's what's frustrating fans.
Yeah, and kind of bring it back to Morales. I mean, does this open up the door to maybe a little bit more significant move, so to speak? One thing about Morales, his contract is set to end in 2025. He had options for next year, so maybe Atlanta were trying to give itself a little more flexibility in that regard, because Morales would have probably wanted a longer term contract, or certainly a long term contract to secure his future in Atlanta. I don't know what those discussions were with the club or anything like that. How long he wanted, how much money he wanted. So we're not privy to those discussions. I'm sure that will come out, maybe at some point in the future. I don't know, but I want to see what's next. I have to see what's next. This doesn't seem like the first and only. This doesn't seem like the only move that this club is going to make in terms of outgoing players. There's more to come. And as we get closer to July 24th, as we get beyond July 24th, when that transfer window is supposed to open up, or it's going to open up, I should say, I think we're going to see more and more rumors about players maybe needing that change of scenery or getting that change of scenery. Atlanta United, where it stands right now, can't remain where it is at this point in time. Morales, of course, is a disappointing move, is a upsetting move. I would have loved to see him with the team for a much longer period of time, right? That being said, this club has to hit, period. They have to hit on their upcoming signings. Mihai has to be a hit. Whoever they bring in has to be a hit because, Tommy, like you mentioned, the players that they haven't brought in have not been. Latte Lot, Miranchuk, Muyimba, Saba. I'll add him to the list.
That's my next talking point is Saba.
Only player really that has performed that you've gotten in this regime is Bartek Slish, and he's been playing on another level as of late. So I really want to see what this club does in this window. Again, Morales is disappointing. I love the kid. I love what he brings to the team. I hope he does fantastically well in Montreal, except for 2 dates when Atlanta plays Montreal. But we have to see what's next. Chris Henderson is at the controls. He's not been here long. He has experience in this, and I think he feels like, or it definitely feels like he needs the trust that maybe fans aren't too willing to give Garth Lagerway at this time, considering how short of time Chris Henderson has been here in comparison. Zelf brings up a good point. We've said this window has to be a hit for the last 3 windows. By the way, I agree. I'm not arguing that point. The club's front office has just lost so much goodwill, and this doesn't do much to get it back. Trading Efrain Morales. Any kind of final thoughts on that? We definitely want to talk about the match, but any final thoughts on the Morales trade before we kind of turn the page here?
Yeah, I think Chris Henderson wasn't kidding when he said that this was going to be a busy window, that they had a lot of work to do, and he already started with Mihai, and we've seen a lot of movement now, right? You move out Shande Silva, you move out or loan out Mascara. Now it's Morales. They're probably not going to be the last ones. It's the start of the work of cleaning the house, so to speak. And I mean, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, this Morales trade was really needed because the team used almost all of its GAM on Mihai, on being able to sign Mihai. So it needed more. I don't know what they're going to use that for, because this team isn't one that really tends to trade within MLS way too much, unless it's trading for like international slots or something like that. And to be fair, it does need an international slot, I think.
I don't think so. I think they have one. I'll have to
Okay,
check.
they have one, but if they're going to go looking for others, and they are probably going to need international slots. So I'm interested. This opens another roster slot, and it gives you that GAM to potentially explore bringing in other moves, which I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I've said it. I think, this club, it usually tries to chase down bad news with something relatively good news. And so we'll see what happens. But I think they're going to be more active in the signing department, to say. So we'll see what kind of additions they make in this window.
And quickly, before Tommy, go to you. So they do have an international slot already freed with Shande Silva's trade to St. Louis. So yeah, they have that slot open.
So that would be Mihai's?
Yeah, that would be Mihai's at this point. Right. But yeah, be interested to see if this is another international slot that's coming over, Henry. So yeah, like I said, we'll have to see. Tommy, any final thoughts on Morales?
No, I think as we transition into the game, though, I mean, you talk about all these players, Sanine, you brought up Saba, and you saw Luke Brennan get a start there on the left, and where in a game where it's a must win. All these games are must win. Yeah. To one of your guys that obviously has not scored a goal this year, has he scored? I don't think so. Nope. He's he's obviously frustrated. He's been lacking time. You have to imagine that he's one of those names as well that could potentially be on the block, because we know that he doesn't work on the left. We've seen it many times. We've seen how unproductive it is, and you have Miguel Almiron, who is going to continue to be playing on the right.
Yeah.
So you're starting to maybe see some of these small signs of what could potentially be happening here in this window or the winter of moving on from some guys. I think what people want to see is a completely different Atlanta United team, and I think you are going to get that in the next year. But can you make the product watchable?
Yeah.
Because look, I understand. Okay, like this season, I feel has been over for a couple of weeks. I said that, but what I want to watch,
no, it really is.
But yeah, but like what I want to be able to watch a product that is fun. And I sat back and I watched that first 45 minutes, and I said, I am having fun.
Yeah.
And look, they only scored one goal, but they had control of the ball. They were able to attack. They were able to create chances, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And then I went into that second half saying, this is the shit I've been watching for most of the season.
Right.
And that's what's frustrating, because I think with everybody here and how they feel about it is that you spend your hard-earned money on season tickets, or you spend your hard-earned money on Apple Season Pass, and then you spend the time, the 90 plus minutes of what you have of your weekend to watch this game. And then some people come on and they like punishment, and they hop on spaces with us, and they come on here and talk about the game afterwards. And like these people dedicate a lot of their time. We all do.
Yeah.
We dedicate our time to this club, and you just want to see it really your all your time that you've invested to get a good product here. And look, I know you had that short window there at the end of the season with the playoffs there, but that was a month
Yeah.
of 9 that you dealt with there, and it just hasn't been fun right now for this fan base. And that's what we want to see. Even if it's not wins, I just want to be entertained and watch some good soccer, and we have been lacking that all season long.
Here's what irritated me, and
We'll grind your gears, Sydney.
no, but here's what irritated me. Why? And Tyler hit on this on our Patreon channel last week after the last game, I think. Why are we still talking about this team being soft 23 matches into the season? Where's the heart? Where's the passion? Where's the determination among this team, among these players? You're 23 matches in, and you don't have the will to show up for your team or sorry for your fans and each other in the second half, where you come out, you concede in the first 15 seconds of the match after your coach just told you in the locker room, hey, be careful. They're gonna look at this second half, say, no, we played a crap first half. We better step it up in front of our rival fans. They concede in the first 15 seconds, and I'm like, we're still talking about this team being soft. We're still talking about this team being, unprepared. This is what's going on. Is the team has this team, not has Ronnie Dial lost this team? That's what I'm trying to say. Is the message not sinking in? Do the players not care, or are they just not very good? And either option is terrible at this point. We're still talking about how soft this team is. Why? Why? You're a professional football player. You're being paid how much money to step up on the field and win football games? You can't owe it. You can't give your fans a full 90-minute performance. You conceded in the first 50 seconds of the first half. You give up 2 really cheap goals. You let Zaha get too much space on the left to create for his teammates. I mean, what's going on? That's what irritated me, and it's just frustrating that we're still having these discussions. And I'm not a fire the coach guy. Tommy, Henry, you guys know that, but even if you do give them a remade roster in 2026, I'm not confident that Ronnie Dyla is the coach to lead this team to the next level. I just don't, unless something dramatic happens between now and 2026. I don't get it.
I agree with you. And look, I'm also one that tends to have a lot of patience with the coach. I've had debates with people about, should Ronnie stay? Should Ronnie go? How much of it is his fault? And every game, I feel myself drifting a little bit more towards giving Ronnie some more of the blame. Of course, the players aren't great. I'll go ahead and say that. But when he's talking about this team being soft and not being hungry enough, and the attitude and the culture and all these kind of words that surround this team, he's been in charge for over 6 months now. About 7 months now, right, of this club. He's had plenty of time to start addressing that, to make changes, to do something to, I guess, bring some of that out in his team. He's talked before in his press conferences about how he likes to see the hunger in some of the players, and he wants to see more. And he calls out players for, being here for, a paycheck and to enjoy the US and whatever. But he never actually takes action with the lineup.
Yeah.
He keeps playing the same players. And until they are either injured or he is forced to rotate like he did in this game, and he had to, sit Brooks Lennon and Amador to give them some rest after starting every darn game for the past few weeks. we saw a different team
Right.
in this first half against Charlotte, and I was impressed. I thought that we found probably the best link up play between fullbacks and wingers in this game than we have seen the entire season. Ronald Hernandez and Miguel Almiron worked very, very well on the right side. I think they were very, very constructive.
Yeah.
I thought Matt Edwards and Luke Brennan, they worked very well. They had like an understanding, right? Like they kind of knew who, like Luke Brennan knew when Matt Edwards was going to play the ball, where he was going to play
Yeah.
it. And he would
Yeah.
find him, and he trusted him to do it. So he'd make the runs, and he'd get himself into good positions. Same thing on the other side with Miggy and with Ronald Hernandez, where, Miggy knows Ronald Hernandez is going to make that overlapping run, and so he can one touch really quickly play him into the space, and that created so many good opportunities. Likewise, Ronald Hernandez knows what spaces Miggy tends to go in. They hang out a lot at training.
Yeah.
They are together all the time. Their chemistry is absolutely there, and it shows on the field because I have never seen Miguel Almiron and Brooks Lennon work in the same way in how many games that we've seen them play together already. The center backs. How long did it take Efrain Morales to get a chance with the first team?
Right.
Yeah. He only ended up starting 5 games before he's getting shipped off to Montreal. And the only reason that happened is because all the center backs were injured because Derek Williams and Stian Gregerson went down. That's the only reason that he was getting a chance.
Yeah.
It's the same for players in literally any position. It feels like Dyla is afraid to make these changes. Like he doesn't actually trust the young players as much. Because if he did, he would look at these players that are getting paid millions of dollars and that are not putting up the attitude that he's looking for, that are creating these situations where the team is soft, as he calls it. And he makes no adjustment. He sees players that he likes.
Rewarding mediocrity.
Exactly. He likes and he praises these players, the homegrowns, the guys that are coming in and showing that hunger. And then he doesn't play them.
Yeah.
Or he only plays them in emergency situations. Like, to me, if I was a player in that locker room, that tells me that you don't really trust me, right? That you don't trust what I'm doing. And it's infuriating to see that those players that are underperforming. I'm gonna name them. I'm gonna name Moranchuk. Yeah. I don't get how we have seen him play 20-something games this season, most of them at the 10, and still think that he is the right creative player for this team, that he is the right number 10, because every time he's on the ball, it is underwhelming, uninspiring, and just infuriating. I cannot count the times in this last game where he would get the ball and literally stand still on the ball instead of moving it forward, instead of finding options, instead of doing something to inspire an attack in this team to
number
make 10 happen.
You're number 10.
And then Miggy, who for the past few games has been staying on the right side because he's listening to Ronnie Dylas. Okay, fine, I will stay over there. Yeah. The few times that he plays in the middle, he is so much more effective than Alexei Moranchuk.
100%.
Just look at the Chicago game. He plays a through ball to Latte Lot, really good. Unlucky, Chris Brady gets to it first, but Latte Lot, that was a really good chance to see exactly what we've been sold on about, Latte Lot, who again has to finish his chances, still has to do better in that department, but we saw what we were sold on. In this game, he had the assist for Latte Lot's goal, the second goal, the consolation goal. Yeah. A quick 1-2 into tight space, ball over to Latte Lot, finishes in goal. Exactly what you want from a number 10. And this is a guy that was here in 17 and 18. We know he knows how to play the 10 position. He's been telling us that he plays better at the 10. And still, we're seeing Alexei Moranchuk. I don't get what they see in him. I don't know what else Ronnie Dylan needs to see.
You got me. I mean, I don't understand.
What else does he have to see?
It's malpractice at this point. It's just willful ignorance and just stubbornness at this point. You're trying to force something that doesn't work. Just stubbornness. Tommy, you've been quiet for the past few minutes. Want to get your take on what you saw last night, or more of your take of what you saw last night, or what you didn't see last night?
Well, I thought of seeing the comments in the chat and what Sydney and you both have said, I mean, you've had players, you had Pineda saying the same thing about these players, and he said it in a little bit nicer of a way, right? For a long time, he covered for the players, a real long time, and fans got a little upset about that because that was just kind of who Pineda was. He was a players guy. He never wanted to throw them under the
100%.
bus until it got to the point. It got to the point where it was just so bad. He was like, "Forget it. I'm calling some of these guys out." It was rare, but he did. I do feel bad for Ronnie because I do think that he's trying. I do. I think he's trying to get these guys to do things, and they're just not doing it. With that
Why?
said, though, it's not the players obviously have not been working. The team doesn't seem like they have a full game plan, and it can't be that just every single player just doesn't get it. And I understand defensively, players that have done well, but the moving forward has not looked good for besides the 45 minutes for months. And that's where it's just you have to go with a clean slate going in here. And the thing that I talked about in Spaces is my worry is that we are going to get a repeat of last year where it's going to take a long time to hire a research firm to start looking for a coach because we were trying to pull that up. I had people trying to find the stories of it, but we talked about it, I think for like a month. Like, when are they hiring the research firm? You guys remember that? It was like we weren't on Coach Watch, we were on research, or we were on the
Firm watch.
the firm watch.
Firm watch.
Yeah, the firm watch, and that was frustrating there. I commend what other teams have done. I commend that DC had already went out there and got someone trying to figure things out early enough so that you could start moving on to next year. And I know this doesn't have to do anything about the game, but still, like, I don't want to repeat going from last year. I need this team to start figuring things out now so that in December and January, we are not struggling to find a coach and being able to get him over here. If he's coming, what happens if he's on visa watch and we don't have there, because that's a thing that always happens with this team. We're on visa watch, or it takes a while for this coach to get here. We need someone established now. One, because you have enough roster spots opening up here in the next window after this, in the winter window. You need to be able to get someone in here to help with those decisions, and you need this guy ready to go. He needs to make these intro to Atlanta United PowerPoints before January comes.
Let's not put the cart before the horse, though.
No, we need. Nobody wants to talk about this year.
I know the season's washed. I agree, season's washed. But
finally, you agree?
No, I agree. You want me? They want me over. Not you. They want me over. Tyler's story is now, but Tyler,
No, I'm only here for one thing. Efrain Morales.
Go.
No, I popped in to talk about Efrain Morales. I got a bitch about it for a minute. I'm putting on my fan hat. I'm taking off my journalist hat just for a minute.
Don't take your shirt off, though.
I mean, I could.
Leave your clothes on, please.
Don't do that.
What you got?
I am so irritated. All right, this is my unhinged part. All right, it's so freaking frustrating. Nothing more could go wrong with this team. You look at everything that's happened with Efrain Morales over the past few matches, and it's like, hey, he's the best one on the pitch at any given time. He has X-dog to the nth degree. He is out here playing out of his mind. He looks like a phenomenal center back, like a guy that's really going to grow into this team. And then last night happens, and there's kind of mixed signals and back and forth, and then you find out, he looks like he's getting traded to Montreal. It's so freaking irritating that even in the midst of it, like, all right, I'll put my journalist hat back on for 2 seconds and say, I mean, all right, look, this is sports. Stupid stuff happens. Like, you got to make room for big changes. I understand that. I do. But why does it always got to be the guy that nobody wants to be gone? It's always got to be that one. And I get it because he's got value, because he's actually playing good right now, unlike most of the team. But it's so irritating. Like, that is just like the epitome of the 2025 Atlanta United season. You're one of your best players, your best prospects. You gotta free up. You gotta move on from, in hopes that you can make something happen. It's irritating. It's so frustrating. I was out. All right, I was ignorance is bliss. For 2 hours,
Yeah.
I didn't see this stupid rumor.
Having date night with your wife.
Yeah, and then I freaking pull up my phone, and it's like Efrain Morales to Montreal. Freaking ridiculous.
Jeez.
So irritating. I'm just so frustrated, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people share your frustration. And I kind of mentioned it beforehand. There's always going to be an odd man out, and I didn't think it would be Efra at this point with Mihai coming in. So, but it doesn't make it any more disappointing to see him gone. Like I said earlier, I hope he balls out, except for the 2 times Montreal plays Atlanta United, but still.
And the one time we have to go there this season.
Yeah,
It
no,
might
exactly.
be really
That's
good.
right.
Apparently, Montreal is the path to England. So,
right.
Whatever.
Thought that was supposed to be us.
Yeah, me too.
Once upon a time.
I popped in here to say that.
Okay.
I got to get back to date time, and we literally just got home. So,
all right.
Peace,
Enjoy.
have fun, and hopefully this team figures something out.
Okay, have a better second half than Atlanta
Yes.
For real. Not hard to do, to be fair.
Right. Yeah.
See y'all.
See ya.
See you, Tyler. So, it's a lot to digest with this team. We talked about the team still being soft. Tommy, to your point, you mentioned why is it still happening? And I think that's a deep question you have to ask yourself. You would like to think that there are better players coming in. You would like to think that Mihai is a player that can really improve this team at center back. But then let's talk about Stian Gregerson. Hasn't seen the field in weeks, months.
3 months.
3 months. Do you use that buy on him and open up, a spot? Not only, open up, some more resources there so you can make another potential move. Maybe another center back, another starting quality center back. It's just, what do you do if you're Atlanta United at this point? It's the season's, the playoffs are out the window. You just got to look toward 2026. And the leash is going to be super short on Ronnie Dylan in 2026. I give him 10 matches with the new roster. How long do you give him?
You can't give him any. If your thing is I'm going to give someone 10 matches to prove themselves, then why are you doing it?
With a new roster though.
I get that, but I think there's been enough history in his past that just show that this just isn't going to work. I don't think your thing here is that you want to build something long term here, and you want to go in through another preseason here with him, and a part of this, and again, not his fault, but you expect fans to renew their season tickets, knowing that you are going to run back with the same manager, and that there's no consequences. And look, I know that people overreact to certain, a team or a coach and things like that, and saying they've gone. Obviously we about the Galaxy situation that they have there. They gave him an extension with how bad it was, but they knew what happened to him prior. Ronnie hasn't given us anything. He hasn't. He didn't win us an MLS Cup. He didn't win us the Open Cup. Anything right now. You can't. If you're telling your fans next year, we're probably going to run it back with at least 2 of the 3 DPs, at least, very likely all 3, because I just don't see them moving on from Mirchuk. Maybe I'm wrong. And then you tell them we're going to bring the coach back, but there's going to be some different role players around him. It's a very hard ask to get people excited about this team in 2026.
Unless it's a blockbuster player of some sort. Maybe
Absolutely.
you can sell them that, but
there. And I don't know, because ultimately this is a business. And you want to make money. And the way you do that, you get season ticket holders, you fill Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you try to get as many people of 60,000 fans that you can have in there, not the 60,000 that tickets sold, actual 60,000 people showing up into your stadium. I don't know how you can create vibes next year running all of this back with different players around the DPs. I just don't see how you could do that there. And look, and maybe it could work there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for Ronnie, and I'm sure he understands that, is that money is involved in this, and if the fans aren't spending money, then you're not doing well here. And when you're Atlanta, compared to maybe another city where maybe you could get away with this,
Yeah.
and maybe stay under the radar, it's not this. This is not it. This is not the city that you should be doing that with. I mean, now the team that I can't make fun of Vancouver anymore because they're legit. But like Montreal can maybe get away with something like that. But
Yeah.
with Atlanta or DC there, and you're even seeing those guys make moves here. I just think it's really the answer is D, all the above. It's everyone's fault here, but unfortunately, sometimes when it's everyone's fault, everybody takes a fall, or a large group of it takes a fall, and I think that Ronnie is going to have to take that fall.
Let me. I want to touch on the attendance thing here because that brings up a good point. So Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium soccer capacity is 71,000. You drew 60,000 tickets sold for a derby. And
Was the whole thing open?
Yes,
it was a
full
full
stadium.
capacity match. Full capacity match. You sold 60,000 plus tickets. The 71,000 capacity. That tells you all you need to know about United right now, doesn't it? It's just 60,000. I mean, yes, it's a big attendance, it's a big number, but that's low if you're a Atlanta United fan. Like, you're used to seeing 65, 66, 67, 70 in that building on the regular when the entire stadium is open. You drew 60,000, just over 60,000 for a derby. I mean, this is where this team is right now.
And put that into the context that there were eight buses full of Charlotte fans that came down to watch the game, and we're all in the seats above us. So every time they scored some of those goals, we were getting earfuls of it, and you could hear it. And they were, I mean, it might have been because we were right below them, but they felt much louder than the Atlanta fans at points in the game. And honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, Atlanta fans didn't really have much to cheer in that game, especially in the second half. Wasn't anything to cheer about.
Right. And give them the benefit of doubt. I mean, the Braves were playing the Yankees, and the Yankees draw from all over. So maybe that played a factor. But still, 60,000 and 71,000 capacity stadium for a derby. That speaks volumes about the state of Atlanta United right now. I feel like, with playoffs out of the picture, guys, at this point, you just go all in on Leagues Cup, don't you? You at least have that. But at the same time, you've won 0 games in Leagues Cup. You've been grouped every single year. I feel like that's your only path to salvaging anything from this season, right?
What are you gonna do in Leagues Cup though? Well, I mean, what do you expect to change? Just Anea Mihai?
Right.
Is he gonna solve this team's problems? I don't think
No,
so.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
It is literally the only thing that's gonna change between MLS play and going into Leagues Cup, right? Because other than that, it's the same exact team.
I'm not saying they'll win Leagues Cup.
Well, no, I understand, and I agree with you. At this point, throw everything you can in the Leagues Cup, but I think we have to temper our expectations here. Atlanta's never won a game in Leagues Cup, and this is probably the worst version of Atlanta United we've seen in the Leagues Cup era. So I don't expect them to suddenly, pull a miracle here and do something meaningful in Leagues Cup. If you think about it, Leagues Cup really only matters if you're one of the top 3 teams, because those are the teams that get CONCACAF Champions Cup spots. And obviously, I mean, if you win the thing, you get a trophy, but let's be real here. Atlanta is not anywhere close to being one of those teams. And it certainly, I don't expect to even win a game in this tournament because it never has done it before. And this is a team that we're seeing as substantially worse than what we've seen over the past couple of years.
Yeah. If Atlanta United wins Leagues Cup, we should put a bet on it. Tommy,
sure,
going up your alley. Tommy shaves his beard if Atlanta United
I'll
wins.
shave my
League
head
Cup.
if they win league stuff. Whatever.
I feel like that's your only hope at this point. I mean, you're not going to win it, but I feel like that's all you have to hold on to is Leagues Cup at this point, because playoffs are gone. You have Seattle coming in on Saturday. Hopefully, you get something out of that. I mean, maybe a draw to at least show you have some life. But I mean, at this point, there's no chance with this team making the playoffs. And Dylas said it, and he said, "Hey, we're not giving you hope." But I mean, his heart wasn't in it, guys. His heart wasn't in it. You can see it on his face.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
this is not happening. And even he admitted the way we're playing right now is not happening, and it's just this was a team that spent about $50 million on its attack, and you've gotten absolutely nothing out of it. And you just have to look at every single aspect of what's going on up there and figure out how do we fix it and how do we position this team to be good in the future. Because until you do that, you're not going anywhere.
Just two random thoughts that just came up. With Stian Gregerson, I don't think that it was a bad signing. You don't know when a player is just going to be injury prone. Like, you just don't know. And when he's on the field, I think that he's been pretty good for us. But he obviously hasn't been
Just
there.
doesn't play.
Right. If there were signs prior to him coming here, and at least from what I remember looking, there were no signs of long injuries with him, long times out. So I don't blame the front office for that, because obviously that was another one of Gart's signings that he was super pumped for, along with Sleesh. If he was healthy, I think that it would be a fine signing. Unfortunately, there's just guys that come in and something happens to him and it just sticks with them for a very long time. Now, he could leave here if you cut him, just like we were talking about, and then he goes to another team and has never another injury again. I mean, that's just the way things happen there. Maybe also playing on the turf is just not good for this guy. I don't know, but that's I just wanted to throw that out about Gregerson, because I know Gart's getting a lot of bad vibes about the signings that he's had.
Right.
But I think it was a good signing. It's just random injury happens and it sticks with them. And in the positive here, I know we briefly talked about it, but I thought Luke Brennan had a pretty good game for his first start. I mean, he was a little critical of himself as well, which, hey, look, as a kid coming in there, you don't want him saying, "Oh, I had a perfect game," when it wasn't there. He knows he needs to improve. I like what Ronnie talked about him. He needs to take on players more. He knows he needs to take them on more. He had a great cross, maybe a little bit too high, I think, for Latte Loth there in the second half. But still, I thought that he had a good game there, and obviously you see that he got the start over Saba. So maybe he continues to get that, and hopefully we see him improve.
I agree. His take-ons, they felt better than Saba's have been this season. I feel like he got past players a little bit more. He just feels more mobile in a sense. I think he has fancier feet than Saba, quite frankly. And so it was fun to see him just taking on it. And he said it is like, yeah, I mean, I was faster than whoever that right back was. And so it was kind of funny to hear that from him. But yeah, no, it was great to see him have that confidence and just really, really ball out. Is Sleesh better than Mateus Rossetto 1,000 times? I can't.
Let's talk. Well, hold on. I want to throw in my take about. I'll throw in my take about Brandon real quick.
Okay, but let me finish with mine, because I was.
Oh, sorry. Go.
I was interrupted. My fault for bringing that message up here. It broke me. I'm sorry.
Yes, the same. That's why I had the comment. But with Brennan, I love that he kept finding spaces in and around the box where he could receive the ball, where he received, these long balls from Slish, who, by the way, he's another standout in my opinion, and some of the other players. He was able to kind of stretch the field in that way, in a way that we haven't seen as much from Saba. So I really like what we saw from Brennan. I think he's got a bright future if Atlanta doesn't trade him to Montreal next window.
He's next.
I hope to see him continue to develop and maybe, fingers crossed, actually remain at the club after we've seen his growth accelerate.
Was the Tifo last night a harbinger of the Morales trade?
Oh no.
The one that said you're next.
It was a
You're
message
next
to our
for what?
own players, not Charlotte's.
That was a sweet.
We
That was
joked
a
around
sweet
about.
tifo.
I know Tommy, you'd appreciate that as a wrestling fan.
Well, Goldberg just, if anybody doesn't know why the timing of that, I think at least why they did that is Goldberg is from Atlanta and Goldberg did retire.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, by the way?
I was never a WCW guy, and especially not a Goldberg guy.
You're all WWE all the way in your household, or
Yeah, well, back then, I mean, I just thought Goldberg was boring.
Hopefully Goldberg's not watching or listening to this.
Just bring it, old man.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for. Just real quick. Yeah, Brennan, I liked him a lot. Room to grow, and you guys talked about it. He's young. He's 20, and by no means he's going to be MLS top 11, best 11 defender or best 11 winger right off the bat. He still has room to grow. He has some things that he needs to sharpen up in his game. Crossings maybe need to be a little bit better. You can see the skill, you can see the talent, you can see the ability there, and Henry, you're kind of joking about it. Hopefully he doesn't get traded. Hopefully he's not the next one out. But this is a player that if Atlanta United wants to, they can build around. He got a look with the U20s last year. Hopefully that's not the last time he gets looks with the U.S. youth national team set up, or maybe a senior national team set up years from now. But I liked what I saw from Luke, and good first MLS start. Now his first start outright with Atlanta United, because of course he started Leagues Cup or U.S. Open Cup a couple times last year, but a good first MLS start for Luke Brennan. Sleesh was terrific. The delivery in the box to Muyimba for the goal was outstanding. One thing, guys, that really stuck out to me, Henry, you saw it. Me, Tyler, in the press box. I'm sure, Tommy, you saw it. Watching the run he made to essentially save a fourth goal for Charlotte in the 90s. It was 6 minutes of stoppage time, and
impressive.
He makes a sprint pretty much all the way down the field to the opposing box and takes the ball off of, I think it was Toklamari's foot to save. It wasn't a clear-cut chance, because I think there's still a little bit of movement Toklamari needed to do in the box to get completely clear of the defending, but just that it's the 6 minutes of stoppage time. He's making that run, that sprint down the field, that recovery run to take the ball off of the opponent's foot, saving what's possibly a goal. Outstanding. He has been just on another level for Atlanta United over these past few weeks. He has grown tremendously since we saw him last year, guys. Leagues Cup, he was at his lowest point. After that, he was really strong. He had some tough games, yes. Earlier this season, maybe not his best work. He has just really turned it on over these past few weeks. He has something to prove. He has a chip on his shoulder. He is a player that can really be a building block for Atlanta United over these next several years if they're to be a competitive club in MLS. Under contract until 2028. So he's locked in for the near future. Was really impressed with him against Charlotte.
And you have to make sure you want to make sure that these players don't get frustrated and want to force themselves out as well.
Yeah.
Like I know he's still newer here, but eventually players get tired of losing, and then they start wanting their way out here, and that's what you don't want. You don't want these guys and he's a guy that shows his emotions on his face.
Yeah.
And with his body language there.
Yep.
There's some players that are good at hiding it. He is not one. And you can tell that he's extremely frustrated. And I can only imagine what he's like in the locker room after the games there. But if there's a guy that you want on your team that is showing heart, showing, the whatever, people fighting for the badge, blah blah blah. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, he seems like he's one of those guys here, and he's shown it for a while, and now you got to find the pieces around him to make him better, and maybe find a manager that can solidify that midfield.
Yeah, Henry, you and Tyler were in the press, in the locker room after the match, and I understand Bartek's book. I've only seen the quotes, but you and Tyler, like I said, were there with the media, talking over the game with him. I guess, what is his demeanor? I guess, what is some of the comments that he made after the match?
His demeanor pissed off. He was mad, and he told us like he was angry, like he hates losing. If there's a player in that locker room that despises losing, it's him. And so he talked to us, he told us like he recognizes that it's very hard now for Atlanta United to make the playoffs. We're now 13 points behind the play-in game. And he just expressed his frustration, and he's obviously, he just wants to win. He wants to do his best for the club, and you could tell in the way he plays. He plays his heart out, man.
Yeah.
He was very effective, moving the ball forward. I feel like he dropped into very good spaces and got the ball to the right folks. His long passing has improved a lot for sure, and he just has so much hustle because he was running the entire game. And I remember there was one play, I think like the 96th, 94th minute, something like that, where, Charlotte's on a counterattack and it's Derek Williams against this one guy. And here comes Bartosz Slisz, literally like Forrest Gump running all the way back, and then manages to actually, shoulder him off of the ball, recover the ball, and break down that attack. Derek was completely gassed, by the way, because he stood there like once it was all over. He like stood there with like his hands on his knees and everything. He was like trying to catch his breath for a few seconds. But man, what a trooper Bartek is, and I just have nothing but respect for the guy, and I hope he continues to improve because he's clearly one of the dogs on this team. And again, we need more dogs on this team.
Agreed. And yeah,
Diamond dogs,
Georgia Bulldogs, even.
Yeah,
they're good at soccer. Oregon Ducks. But just going back to Henry's point, just real quick about him being pissed off. We need players more like that. We need players who can't accept losing, and I don't feel like we have enough of those on Atlanta United's roster at this point, and that's partially why they're in the spot that they're in right now. Any other kind of final thoughts here? I guess we can kind of close here in a little bit. Any final thoughts? Any tidbits that we have to hit on before we get out of here?
Well, I do have an interesting stat, and it's a bit of a story that has happened this season. The second halves, we got to talk about that. They've been pretty bad, right? Yeah. Atlanta has conceded a lot of its goals in the second half, and Henry can't speak. Specifically at the beginning of the first half, the first 15 minutes of the second half. Sorry. So I actually went and did the math because I was curious about it. So if Atlanta did not play second halves this season, they would have. You ready for this?
Figuratively, they haven't.
If they literally didn't, instead of figuratively, they'd have 22 points, which it's literally 2 more than they have right now. But that's not the big thing. The big thing is if they didn't concede between the 46th and 60th minutes of games this season, that's the first 15 minutes of the second half.
Yes.
Atlanta would be up to 30 points.
Wow.
They would have 10 more points than they currently do. They'd be 11th, and they'd be 3 points from 9th place. It's become the story at this point that Atlanta just comes out of the locker room flat, and we don't really know why, but they tend to give up so many goals coming out of the locker room. And hearing Ronnie Dyla talk about how he told the team, like, okay, guys, y'all got to come out strong. Y'all got to come out competitive because y'all know that they're going to make adjustments. I'm telling y'all, they're going to make adjustments and they're going to come out different. So we got to be ready for that. And then immediately concede 3 goals.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that. That's unacceptable for the team. And I don't know if it's that Ronnie Dyla, like his message isn't getting through to the players. Like he doesn't know how to get through to them. Have they just tuned him out at this point, or do the majority of the players not care? Because he was frustrated with the plays, and honestly, the plays where Charlotte scored, they kind of puzzled me too. The first goal, literally 15 seconds from the kickoff of the second half, it's a low cross into the box, and neither Ronald Hernandez nor Matt Edwards, who were that's their zone, neither of them were there to clear the ball away from an incoming Idan Toklamati. And how does that happen, man? Like, and that's not the worst goal that they've conceded, right? In the first 15 minutes of the second half, but it's just an example of how it feels like they go into the locker room, even though they're up, right? And they just memory wipe, and they're like, what am I doing here, right? Like they don't know what they're doing at that point. And it's I don't understand why that happens, and I wish there was someone like a sports psychologist or something,
right?
That
they had that a few years ago, though.
Yeah, that could tell us, like, hey,
Dr. Karen,
why does this stuff happen, right? How does this happen so much? What is the solution? What is the cure? Because Atlanta needs that at this point. That's too much.
I said Dr. Sharon. I said Dr. Karen. I meant Dr. Sharon. Henry or Tyler, whatever your name is.
Third try.
Tommy, anything else you want to hit on? Anything that stood out to you, good, bad, or ugly?
I mean, right now, at least, we are the window is opening, so we should be hearing some more things. I guess that's the only really thing to look forward to. I mean, it's hard to look forward to Saturdays, and now we're going to also be getting some midweek games as well coming up again.
Do we have to?
I know it's a hard point in the season.
Sim to end.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Efrain Morales is going to be a point to watch for the remainder of the season, but that's gone. Well, Luke Brennan now is the guy that I want to see continue to get time here.
Yeah.
I want to see, hopefully, him being able to improve. And then when you go into preseason next year, that he's fighting for the spot. Now, I don't want him to win that spot. I think that you need to go out there and you need to spend some money on that spot. But I think for a player like him, being a good depth piece for his second professional year is more than fine. I don't think he should be an MLS starter at this point, but I think that he can give you some good substitution time there. We've seen it already, him coming in as a sub and causing chaos.
Yeah.
But that's really one of the points there. And then unfortunately, Fortune's injured now. I mean, he's been injured, but like that's another thing that I just want to see continue to improve here. So that's gone. And now you got a new center back coming in. So you're going to be able to watch him and see how he performs. But there's just not a lot right now that really gets me interested. And you talked about all the things that were going on in the neighborhood,
right?
Sydney, and college football starting in a month. So you're going to be competing against college football for eyes on the product on Saturdays, and for seats in that stadium. It's only going to get harder for Atlanta United to attract fans to get in that stadium.
Indeed. I think that's it. I got nothing else except it's almost over. 11 matches to go.
It's not.
What? No, I said it's almost over.
We're a long way from
literally.
October.
It doesn't feel like it's almost over. It feels like we've got a lot left. We've got a lot of games left.
Cup. 11 matches with the Leafs Cup. You have Mihai coming in against Seattle. He may get a little run out, as Zilphus asking in the chat. So we'll see about that. But
no, I think the answer is no.
But
Agreed.
we'll definitely hopefully see him in training this week leading up to the Seattle match, or we will see him in training this week leading up to the Seattle match. And then the transfer window opens on Thursday. So obviously we'll talk about that in depth. I meant to mention this earlier. Scarfsandspikes.com is where you can find all of our coverage of Atlanta United news, analysis, and opinion. Good, bad, and ugly. Win, lose, or draw. It's been more lose than draw or win. Well, it was draw. It's been more lose lately. So we'll cover that. Transfer window, I said, opening on Thursday. We'll have coverage on that. Any more moves, incoming, outgoing, we'll talk about it. Scarfsandspikes.com. There's a link to our store on scarfsandspikes.com. Purchase Scarves and Spikes merchandise as you see fit. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Our content definitely helps us grow, definitely helps us become your number one source for Atlanta United news, analysis, and opinion. So definitely share it with your friends. Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. Starting at $1.17 a month, get access to our Discord and bonus content that you won't find anywhere else. I am at SH Wrights on X and Blue Sky. Sidich.soccer on Instagram and Threads. Tommy, where are you on social media?
I'm Tommy ATL96. I'm in all-star mode break, baby. That's where I'm at. Real quick, who wins? Does MLS win?
Yes.
Yeah, they have Messi.
Yeah, exactly.
He don't give a shit about this thing.
He'll play. He'll play a little bit.
Whatever. He's not doing media,
he doesn't
I
want
heard.
the prestige of winning the MLS All-Star game.
Right.
When I found out that, because the Miami people have been talking about it, sorry, I this should be an MLS money thing, but he's not doing media and he's not doing the skills competition. Get out of here. You're supposed to be making the league better, you selfish bastard.
Tommy.
Nobody's watching at this point except 336 people.
Pulling the punches. Henry, where are you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me at HA Higita pretty much anywhere. That's specifically Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, pretty much anywhere. And of course you can find my work on scarfsandspikes.com.
Tyler, you heard him earlier, it's at ETL Pilgrim on all social media platforms. That's it. We're done. Join us MLS Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. Of course, on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeart. Like, subscribe, leave a review there. Back on Wednesday with our normal show, Across the Pitch, all that good stuff coming up. And we are done. We'll see you next time. Where's the post-show banter?
What's that?
Where's the post-show banter?
There's no energy for post-show banter, man. It's all bad.
I do like seeing, because I've made a lot of friends throughout this time. So on Instagram, at least, it's at least good to see that there's a good group of people out there that just go and party after the games. Like they go to the game, they see a shit show, but they're like, you know what? Let's go to the Signia. Let's go to the what's the other one over there with the rooftop bar?
Reverb.
Reverb. They go party at the Reverb.
Reverb.
Bruno took me to that one time. I mean, it's a good time. So if there's anything just positive, and I think that's why still a lot of people pay for tickets, is it's a friendship. It's just a group of friends that I think that a lot of people that didn't know each other before the club just all hang out. And that's really what sports are all about. I feel like
maybe the real MLS Cup were the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
I agree.